Welcome to part 2 of building a SharePoint 2016 dev environment. I'm your host, Stacy Simpkins, and we're going to get going here. What we're going to do now is we're going to look at setting up the connections to the servers. So there's detailed steps in building a SharePoint 2016 home lab on everything we're about to do. In the interest of time, though, we're going to, just have a few of those things already set up, so that we don't have to spend a lot of time on the video demonstrating updating host files, making RDP connections, and configuring the key pass. So I'm going to show you some of it, but most of what I'm showing you is in the book with the detailed step-by-step on each place where you click, what you enter, etc. Again, there's really not any prerequisite knowledge to this. If you have the book, you can just go ahead and follow along with the steps and everything will just flow nicely. So on the laptop, we're going to take and edit the host file of the laptop so that you're able to connect to these virtual machines inside of the laptop as if they were running somewhere else in some data center somewhere or what have you. You'll be using an RDP file. The RDP file it'll be stored on the laptop, and you'll be able to connect to it through the KeyPass application. Now, the KeyPass application part, it's not in the book, but I think you'll find it's fairly easy to do. I also have it on my blog, another SharePointBlog.com, where you can go there, and there's a blog post with pretty detailed instructions on how that goes. As far as the SQL Server, the SQL Server normally you would want in a production environment, you'd want to store your data, your log files, and your temp files on different drives. So what I did is I already went ahead and inside of the Hyper-V Manager, I've added the drives to the SQL. I haven't gone in SQL Server yet and provisioned those drives. We'll do that in the demo where we look at the actual SQL Server setup. And one of the things we need to do is the SQL Service accounts. Those need to be created before you can begin building the SQL Server. I've already done that. I'll show you those in Active Directory. The steps are similar to what we did for the service accounts in SharePoint. So the first part we need to do is we need to do this host file modification. Now, you don't need to do this if you want to just work straight from your host, but I find that I like to be able to see the entire server on my screen and not be just seeing part of it or seeing it in a window as it shows when you're on the PowerEdge or on your host server. So by doing this host file modification, it makes it easier and it makes it also seem more realistic to log into the servers. It seems more like it would be in the real production type environment. So what that involves is it involves creating some RDP files and then setting up the proper settings in the KeyPass application. KeyPass is a free application. You can use it for more than just this too. Like you can use it for your accessing your websites or getting into your bank or whatever you're doing online. So anyway, without further ado, let's go ahead and get going here. As you can see on the screen, this is just a screenshot of the host file, and you can see here that we've made some entries for some servers that were previously created in a different environment. So now we're going to go ahead and we're going to start the demo. We'll look at the modifications that are made to the host file. We'll troubleshoot some RDP connections that are there that I've created, and we'll see if we can figure out what the issues are as far as making the hosts be accessible via an RDP. Here I am on my laptop and I've accessed the host file. There's instructions in the book that explain how to do that, and as you can see here, I've got an entry for the PowerEdge, and then I also have the internal IPs of my different computers that I have or servers that I have inside of the domain, the ones we made in step 1 or part 1 of this video series. So here we are, we've got these servers, so let's just see if the laptop actually has connection to them. What we'll do is we'll get a command prompt up and we'll try and ping those servers and we'll see if we can at least get them to talk to us. So let's try and do 2016 app search and see how that comes back. And that's in the wingtip.com domain. So it's important to spell things correctly, otherwise it doesn't work. So it looks like it's finding that address, but we're getting some sort of request timeout, which probably isn't too big of a deal. It's due to the way that the router's set up in my house and the way I've got things going. I'm pretty sure we'll be okay. At least it sees the right IP. Probably going to do that for the other servers as well. Let's just take a look and see here. We'll just try another one, and we won't wait for it to finish all the way either if it doesn't reply back immediately. Yeah, so it's going to Control C on that. Okay, so at least we know that the ping is seeing the IP because we've entered it here in the host file. So now we have to look over at the KeyPass application. Here's my little cheat sheet, shows the names of the accounts and the IPs. I'm going to move that out of the way. So, and here's the actual path to the host file. I'm just going to move that out of the way. I'm just going to close that down. And then inside of KeyPass, basically you have these different options that you can do. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new group. So I'm going to add group, and the icon I'm going to use is going to be the little server icon. I always have trouble locating it. Let's see, where is that guy? Come on here. Anyone see it? Point it out to me. Okay. Well, and it looks close, but it's not what I want. And anyway, well, we'll come back to it. That's not really a big deal. So we'll just click OK, and we'll use the standard one. I could have copied one of the other ones, I suppose, but I'm just going to type in here network, and it's going to be the tailspin, or I'm sorry, the wingtip server farm D. And I just like to let myself know what kind of SharePoint I've got going inside of it. And make that a capital, and make this a capital. And it's not wingtip, it's wingtip. Okay, there we go. There's a G in there. All right, good. And I'm going to click OK. And now what we need to have in here is we need to have these entries that contain a path to the command and then a path to the RDP file. So I've got these other entries over here, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy this guy and duplicate entry, and then I'm going to take it and put it right down here in this one. And I'll just rename that really quickly right there. And it's not going to be Stacy Lab domain, so it's going to be wingtip. So I'll just save that. Actually, I'm sorry. It's just going to be Stacy Lab for the Power Edge. But the other ones, though, it's going to be whatever we had in there for the app or the database or the distributed cache server. So I'm going to make a copy of this one, and I'm going to copy it and then drag it in here, and then I'm going to come in here and just edit it again so that it's got the right name showing. And now I see some problems with this one. So this Contoso is not where it's going, and this is the wrong name, because we used this name right here for the name of the account, and the name of the domain is wingtip. So I'm going to go ahead and grab this, and because this is going to be the account that we're going to be installing SharePoint with, and we don't want to install SharePoint with the farm account. Definitely don't want to do that. That would be bad. So everything else seems to be okay. However, this path here is not where I stored the RDP files that I created. So if I come into my file system and I come into Documents, VMs 2016, I can see here I've got these RDP files that I've already created. So if I edit this one, let's just take a look at it and see what we have in it. Let's edit. So I've got the name of the server that I put inside my host file, and then I've got the account that I'm using. So this one looks good. Okay. And if we try to connect to it, it comes up and it's asking us, it seems like everything is working fine on this guy. So if we go to this one here and we say edit, and we look at it, it's got SQL admin. So that's what I'm going to put inside of my KeyPass entries for the SQL server. And the same thing down here now. On this one we have the domain administrator. Okay. And if we try to connect on this one, it's trying to connect. This is the domain admin account. It's trying to get into this server. There's something wrong though. It's not going to connect. It's going to give us this message about, you know, either the server's not available, we can't reach it, something like that. So see, it's maybe remote access is not enabled. Maybe the computer's turned off. It can't tell. The remote computer is not available on the network. And this one, we know that's not the case because we've already accessed it on the network, and the ping already pulled back the right IP, even though it didn't get a reply back. That's really not a big issue, but in this case, in a production environment it would be, but in this case it's not. So basically we need to log on to this server and see what's going on. And we can try the SQL server. I think it's going to give us that same problem. So if we try to connect to this one, yeah, it's going to give us the same problem. But what we need to do in here though on the KeyPass while that's doing that is we need to edit this path right here. It needs to go to the right file name and the right path. So this is the app search server, so I'm just going to take this one right here, Control C, and then I'm going to come in here, Control A, Control V, and click OK. And then over here I'm going to grab this one, and this is the SQL server. I don't have that created yet, so let me create that here. I'll just copy this one, and then I'll rename it, edit it. So it's going to be, here we could write whatever we want to, it doesn't really matter, but I like to try and keep it the same. And this is not going to be the 2016 SP installer, it's going to be the SQL admin that's going to log in. So just change that and grab this path for the SQL, pop it in here. Alright, and click OK. And then we just need to make that one for the web front end distributed cache server. So just we'll use the app search since it's got the right account and duplicate the entry. And then we'll rename it, and that's going to be WFEDC, and this one right here, it's going to be this file. And so put that right here. Okay, so now we're ready to test out the KeyPass. So if I come to the app search and I click the little green open URL, it says it's going to try and connect, and if I click this, it enters the password in nice. But some kind of error occurred. What happened there? Let's see. We used the wrong name or something? Let's see here. Wingtip is right. I'm just going to move this. This is the right path. Yep, it looks right. App SRCH RDP. Yep. Okay. And let me just drive this over here for a minute and check something. And that password looks okay. Alright, so what's going on here then? Close this. Something is wrong with my command, I believe. Just 1 second. Let's take a look at one of these other ones. System 32. Okay. So that that looks good. This all looks good. What do we have going on in this one here? Let's see. Edit view entry. Custom path. I believe I need to save the credentials in the file. Let's see. Edit. Yeah, those look okay. Save. Okay. So. Okay. Try it again. Huh, same thing. Alright, let me troubleshoot this a little bit. I'm going to turn the video off, save changes. Okay, so what we can see here is we're getting this connection was denied because the user account can't log in for, it's not a, it must not be a local administrator or it doesn't have the remote logon capability. So I said, oh, okay, no problem. Well, the domain admin, that domain admin, that should be able to log into the server. So I think we have one of these other ones with the domain admin hooked up to it. So let's see here. Yeah, here's the one with domain admin. So let's try the domain admin and see what we get with that one. Let's give that a run. That should be good. So since we have KeyPass set up, let's just get back into the KeyPass and try the KeyPass entry. Alright, so this is what happens when you make a domain and you've never done it before and you're trying to connect remote connectivity and you've never done that before. So it's I know what the issues are right now, but I'm just trying to kind of simulate what you're going to run into. So here we go. We try this one. Click connect. And we're trying to WFE, and it's trying to connect to us. And I think we already did this, and it gave us the remote server not available business. Well, let's go ahead and let's jump onto the Power Edge. So we'll do that one. The Power Edge is good to go. So here it comes, and it's open over here. I had it open already, so it just says here your remote desktop server session ended. That's because it had a session open, and when I created a new session, it closed the old session. So cool. So here we are. Let's look at the app search server first off, and we'll just connect into it. And remember on that one, we were getting the message about, and we don't want to use the local administrator account, so instead let's log in with the wingtip account. Oh, I guess this guy's logged in, so we'll just log in with him anyway. And then we'll log off and we'll log on with the wingtip account. So I'm going to log off of here. Sign out, and then I'm going to log in with the wingtip admin account. So Control Alt Delete, other user, and administrator. Let's see if it lets me, if it changes it to the local. Yeah, see it changed to the local. So let's just throw wingtip in front of here. Okay, see that wingtip, that wouldn't work, so put a wing in there. Okay, and then we'll try that. Whoops. Okay, this keyboard, yeah. And sometimes, that's why I like to do the KeyPass, because I don't have to make typing errors that way. And so now the wingtip administrator's logging in. The wingtip administrator is the domain admin, and so in domain join computers, the domain admins group is always an administrator. Makes sense. Now the other account we were trying to use, though, the installer account for SharePoint, we need to have that account needs to be a local admin. So we're just going to go ahead and check out the local users and groups. So management. Console, the Microsoft Saved Console, and once we get that opened, then we'll go ahead and go in here and look at groups and look at administrators, and we can see that the 2016 SharePoint installer is not in here. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and we'll add that in. Since we're logged in with the domain account, domain admin account, it should just allow us to just add the SP installer right in, since the domain admin is allowed to do this. And you gotta spell it right, otherwise if you don't spell it right, it'll come back and say I can't find that. So what you have to do is then just come in here and make the spell choice correctly. So I've never been really good at spelling. I actually lost the spelling bee in 4th grade. I'll never live that down. I'm sure my classmates remember it. And there we go. So that works. Okay, and then we click OK, apply, and OK. So now we've got this server pretty much ready to accept the remote desktop, because I've already came in here on this server and I've already enabled remote desktop. See, it's enabled right here. If we go and we look at the SQL Server, remember it gave us the message about the server not being available, not being online. If we come in here and we log in with the SQL Server local administrator account, you can do the domain account too, but I'm just going to do the local administrator account now and show you something. So if I log in with this local administrator account and I go back into local users and groups, so come back in here and we'll click here, we'll right click here, we'll go to computer management, and then from computer management we will, it looks like we need to activate Windows too, so I'll have to do that a little bit later. Come down in here, and then we come to local users and groups, and administrators. And this is the SQL Server, so we want the SQL admin to be the one that's going to be logging in. So we're in the wingtip.com domain. We'll do SQLADMIN and check names. And it says, who are you? What are you trying to do? So then we'll tell it we're the Wingtip administrator. This is the domain administrator account. In the book, we go over how to change the name of the domain administrator as you would in a production environment, because you don't want to leave it as administrator. It's a hacker exploit. You want to change it to something like Lucy, that dog that's hacking in the background, or Steve, or whatever. And then what it does is it sees it and says OK, and then apply. And now the SQL admin can log on to the SQL Server if we turn on the remote desktop, because right now it's not enabled. You'll see in a second here once this thing refreshes. See, disabled. So in a domain environment, you're going to leave NLA on, but in your home lab, just for ease of connectivity, you're going to turn it off. So keep this on in the real world. Click OK, and now the SQL Server is ready. I'm going to log off of this guy and sign out. Oh, cancel. Sign out. There we go. Okay. So let's check out the web front end, and then I think we're done with this section after we make a connection, of course. So connect to the web front end. We're going to go in here, and we're already hooked into this one, so we're just going to run, and we'll go into check out the local users, management.msc, and that'll take us into the local users and groups. Let's see, administrators, and okay, administrator. And then we're going to add, and we'll say 20. I think we're logged in with the local account. Let's see here in a minute. We'll know if it prompts us when we type this in. And I'm going to spell it right this time. There we go. Click OK. What is going on here? Did I not join this to the domain? Let's see. Okay, look at this. It's looking at this location. Let's tell it we want to. Oh yeah, hey, look. I don't think this computer is actually in the domain. See? We try to add it. It just says location. It doesn't show the directory. And in here, it doesn't have domain administrators. So let's take a look once at this guy and see. Maybe this is like a bonus. sysdm.cpl. and sure enough, it's in the workgroup still. So let's just add that into the domain really quick. wingtip.com. All right. And it says, who are you? We're going to say I'm the administrator of the domain. And I'm going to come right here and type in the password. Maybe not. Maybe come right here and type in the password. I hate typing passwords. Alright, click OK. It's going to say welcome to the wingtip.com domain. Look at that. How nice. So friendly. It's nice. Fluffy almost. Okay, we're going to restart this guy now. It's restarting. And we didn't set the allow logon thing, I don't think. I think we saw the remote desktop off on that one. So let's hop back over to our laptop. And here we are now on the laptop. And let's go ahead and try this app search one more time. So here we go. Click connect and enter the credentials. What's happening? Hey, look at that. That app search is coming up. And that looks good. Okay, so that's working now. If you want more or slower paced or something on this one, the book literally does have this all step by step, each step of the way. It doesn't show the key pass portion of it, but it does show you how you can make it so you can have the ability to just use a straight up RDP connection down here and do a remote desktop and then enter in, say, I don't know, like this maybe. Instead of Contoso though, you'd be going to 2016, in our case here, SQL.wingtip. So if you didn't have the key pass, then you would do this right here. And notice it says none specified. So when you make that RDP file, you basically would go show options and you're going to put a username here and then you're going to save it. You're going to save it somewhere. Okay. In this case though, we're just going to try and connect. It's going to say connecting. Okay. And then it's going to say Stacy Simpkins. We don't want that, so that's not going to work. So we go more choices, pick a different account, and then we throw that account in there. Okay. And then that'll work. So I'll show you. We'll just do it for now. We'll change it to SQL. It's got Wingtip Administrator. So that should work too because that's a domain admin. But I'm just going to take that out for now and click connect. So it'll ask me. And then I'll change to more choices. And then I'm just going to go Wingtip. You got to tell it the domain you're going to or it won't work. And then I'm going to say SQL admin because remember we added that account to the local administrators. And local administrators can automatically log in remotely. So I'm going to enter the password and click OK. And there we go. We're getting logged into the SQL server. See? So that's really all there is to that. There's a lot more in the book if you want to follow along with the detailed instructions. Okay. WFE restarted, and let's just go ahead and we're on the Power Edge, so let's go ahead and connect to it. We know we can connect to it directly from the host. Whoops, says some kind of issue failed here. Oh, what's it say? It says interacting with the virtual machine's keyboard device failed. Oh, it's because it's still powering up, see? That's the problem. See, it says Hyper-V here. So when it's ready to log on, it'll actually have a different screen on it. It looks similar to something like this. Well, let me log off, I'll show you. So sign out. It would look something like this when it's ready to log on. And right now it's not ready to log on. So what I was hoping to show you was I wanted to show how we could go ahead and get into it now and change it to be where the remote desktop is enabled, but I'll just show you on the app search. So let's just go ahead back over here to the laptop and we'll connect into the app search server. And then we're going to go ahead and click that. And here it comes. And I had it open already too, so that's why it gave it a little noise. Let's go ahead and hide this guy. We'll go to the local server. We can see that remote desktop is enabled. If we click in here. The WFE, it's not though. So the WFE has it set this way. We're going to have to set it like this and uncheck the NLA. Like we mentioned before, you want to leave that enabled in a production environment, but for this purpose, we're not going to worry about it. So I'm going to close that. And that's basically it on the RDP KeyPass application, host file editing. So what comes next is the SQL server. It needs more drives. So what I've done is in here I've came in and I've come into settings and I've added more drives to the SQL server here through this menu. And it basically, it's pretty simple. You just click hard drive, add. There's a few screens that you go through. The book tells you exactly how to do all of these. You can see that I've chosen a few of them. So it tells you everything you need to know. And once that's done, then what you can do is you can come over, you can grab your KeyPass, or you can grab just a straight up connection to it. And you can see we don't have one right now. So the WFE DC, actually it says SQL. It's kind of weird that it said that down below. That's because the RDP said that, but we're actually on the SQL server. We can just verify that by coming down here, clicking run, and we'll type in CMD for the command line. We can just type in host name, and that'll tell us what server we're on. And so it's the SQL server. And what we're going to do now is we're going to actually open up disk management, and we're going to add those drives into SQL. So I'll just do one of them, and then I'll stop the video. You'll get the basic understanding of it. One thing we do want to do though is we want to make sure we don't have that drive mounted, because we are going to need to use the D drive. So let me open up this. Here, hide that. I got a few windows there. Oh, nice. Okay. So I don't need this one. I don't need this one. I'll use this one here. We don't want this Windows Media mounted here, so I'm just going to check that really quick. Okay. Oh, it's just an error occurred, so apparently I can't do it from there, so I'll jump back onto the Power Edge, and I'll come here, right-click this guy, Settings, and then this drive here, I will say None, and Apply, and OK. Now if I jump back to my SQL, it should be not there, D drive, DVD drive, it says. Well, I'm going to use the D drive for something other than the DVD drive. I'm going to rename this one. So properties on here. Let's see, hardware, no. So I'm going to make the DVD drive be a different drive letter. Can I do that through here? I think I can. DVD drive. Nope. It just says number 1 in use. There's no way to set it through there. So let's see. Well, I guess for now, I'm not a genius when it comes to all this server business. So what we're going to do is we just won't go with D. We won't have it be called D right here. We'll actually call it something else. So let's jump into maybe we can change it in disk management. So let's see, diskmgmt.msc. Seems like a good name for a disk management console. Hey, it looks pretty cool. Okay, so yeah, so I don't see the. Oh, here it is down here. Let's come down here and change the drive letter and path. There we go. Let's change that to E, since we're not going to use E. Click OK. Okay, yeah. And so now it says E. So hey, it's not too bad. Maybe I do remember a thing or two. All right, so these are all offline. They're unknown. This is going to be my data drive. This is going to be the D drive. This is going to be a drive known as what's the L for log drives, and this would be T for temporary files. So I'm going to go online. And it should take it a second here. Okay, and then I'm going to say initialize disk. I'm going to use GPT because I can get larger files on it. And now I'm just going to come in here and new simple volume. Go to next. Next, the whole entire thing. D is what I want. Next. And I'm going to call it data. You can call it whatever you want to. Form a quick format. I'm going to use NTFS. Other choices are that and that. I'm not going to use resilient file system. I'm just going to keep it alone. And next, and finish. And that's it. I'm going to repeat the tasks for these two. So I'm going to stop the video now and complete these, and then I'll come back to the video and we'll take a look at the SQL service accounts. So here we are on the last part of step 2, where we set up the host file editing on the laptop so that the laptop can connect. We showed how those RDP files work. We looked at local user groups and the administrators group, and we talked about the administrator group being able to log on remotely. Made sure that the accounts were in there for our servers, and now we're just looking at our service accounts. You can see that the SharePoint accounts are all set up here on the domain controller, and the SQL service accounts are also all set up. So basically now we're ready to build the SQL server, and the next section, section 3 or part 3, we'll go over the SQL server build, and if we have time we'll go into getting the AutoSP installer portion and the bits on the SharePoint. So we're getting close. It might be a 4-part series, maybe 5. Okay, yeah, maybe more than 5. I don't know. All right. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you later. The key takeaways from part 2 are basically that we were looking at the servers and we saw we were getting some issues with logging in. We got a remote desktop non-enabled error where it gave us 3 different options with the machine maybe not being on the domain or not on the network, but it turned out in that case it was just that the SharePoint installer account was not in the local administrators. We also saw on the WFE that it wasn't even in the domain, so that's why we couldn't get to it with any of those accounts. And then the SQL server, we didn't have remote desktop enabled, so we enabled that. We also talked about how you might want to leave the network level NLA setting. I think it's called network level authentication or something. Anyway, you want to leave that turned on. And then as far as the make sure server is a member of the domain piece, I just mentioned what that was about. But obviously you're not going to be able to log in with a domain account if your server is not a member of the domain, and if that account is either not a domain admin or a local admin. And then SQL Server, we need to make sure it had extra drives for the data, the logging, and the temp. So I'll see you in part 3, and we'll get that SQL Server built, and then we'll move on to part 4, where we'll talk about getting SharePoint ready to get installed with the AutoSP installer. Thanks for watching. Have a good day.